federal government should revive the execution by firing squad. My name is Benjamin Aviles, and I'm arguing the negative. The federal government should not revive the execution by firing squad. The country has been in constant evolution and growth ever since its origins. The original 13 colonies was escaping the grasp of the monarchy of Great Britain. So, one of the biggest questions to be answered when the Constitution was signed was what powers would be given to the central government and what powers would be given to the state governments. Well, the delegation of powers was made official in the year 1787. Some of the powers given to the federal government include the power to make treaties, the power to coin money, and the power to declare war. On the other hand, some power given to the states include the power to conduct elections, the power to create public education, and all the powers not given to the central government and not explicitly denied to the state government were given to the states. This included power over criminal law. So, could the federal government revive the execution by firing squad? Not constitutionally. Criminal law is not in their power, as said in the Constitution of the United States. A similar situation happened in the 20th century in Europe. In 1981, France became the last European nation to abolish capital punishment. Regardless of the majority of its citizens still having support for capital punishment, a lot of European nations still repealed capital punishment, regardless of public opinion. No doubt that the trust that these individuals had in their government was tainted, and a similar action from the federal government in the United States would be met by resentment. Criminal law, just like the United States, has been in constant growth ever since the country's origin. Before the late 1700s, the common penitentiary, as we know it today, hadn't been invented. So, capital punishment was reserved for a lot more crimes than it is reserved for today. The first method of capital punishment that was popular in the 13 colonies and the early United States was hanging. This process had lots of factors that could go wrong, some of which including the rope being used to hang the condemned would sometimes break, the knot or the noose would be positioned in the wrong spot on the condemned's neck, and this would cause the person to die from asphyxiation, a slow death, rather than the quick death of breaking their neck by the sudden jolt of the rope. And in rare occasions, the height from which the people would jump was too high, and this would cause an accidental decapitation. All of these factors, or all of these failures of the hanging process, gradually pushed public opinion in the search for a more humane way of doing the capital punishment. This led to the debate between gas chamber and the electric chair. In comparison to hanging, both of these methods seemed more scientific and even more humane at first glance, but appearances can be deceiving. In the case of the gas chamber, witnesses of this kind of execution would later testify that the condemned would be writhing in pain and moaning in agony minutes after the toxic gas had been administered to the gas chamber. Also, after World War II, a bad connotation was picked up by the gas chamber. This was because of the Nazis' regime use of the euthanasia program, in which it would conduct mass gassings of people in makeshift gas chambers. On the other hand, the electric chair was also not uncommon to be unpredictable. In many cases, more than one jolt of more than 2,000 volts was needed to kill the individual. The raw power of electricity was put on display very literally. Witnesses of this kind of execution would see the charred bodies of the condemned after withstanding so much raw current, raw power. In time, public opinion swayed again, and this led to the most popular method of capital punishment that exists today, which is lethal injection. In lethal injection, medical products that are designed to save people are repurposed by the state and used to kill people instead. This is a three-step process, which, just like the other methods of capital punishment described previously, is not immune from failure and mishaps. Actually, lethal injection has the most recorded amounts of botched attempts or botched lethal injections. This is not to say that it's because it's the most modern method, but it's also because there's a high level of risk in using the wrong types of medicines or the medicines being administered incorrectly, causing the condemned to suffer a lot longer than they have to. Most recently, the medicines used in lethal injections have seen a shortage. This is in part because of the companies that produce these medicines have come under scrutiny. So this has driven some states to opt for different methods of execution, even reverting to past methods like hanging or the electric chair, the gas chamber, though not all of these have been implemented. So, if the federal government would revive the execution by firing squad, they would be aiding in this cycle going over and over in different types of capital punishment. If the federal government revived the execution by firing squad, how long would it be until public opinion would be swayed? How long would it be until public opinion would cause states to go back to other forms of capital punishment and the cycle to continue? Also, firing squads are not immune to failures, just like all the other capital punishments we have discussed. In some cases, the hearts of the condemned have been missed, causing them to die slowly, in some cases even up to 27 minutes, bleeding in pain. So, in conclusion, should the federal government revive the execution by firing squad? No. It is not in their constitutional power to do so. And, considering the historical cycle of different methods of capital punishments and the failures and violent, horrendous deaths suffered by a small percentage of people, the federal government should not revive execution by firing squad, because it would be helping the cycle go back again, and more condemned people would have to suffer a terrible death.